Gossip is universally condemned as a toxic social poison, yet every human culture on the planet is obsessed with it. This creates a massive evolutionary mystery. Why would nature hardwire us to talk behind each other's backs just to survive? To solve this mystery, we have to travel back to the 1970s, specifically to the freezing, rain-swept highlands of Ethiopia. Here, an anthropologist named Dunbar spent up to 10 hours a day sitting in the mud, acting as a quiet commuter in a society of wild Galada baboons. He was practicing something called neutral habituation. Basically, he acted so unthreatening and boring that the baboons eventually ignored him entirely, allowing him to sit just inches from their bright red, hourglass-shaped chest patches. Dunbar meticulously timed their behavior with a stopwatch and a notebook, and he noticed something fascinating. These primates spent a massive portion of their day physically picking bugs and dirt out of each other's hair. This wasn't just about hygiene. It was physical grooming used to build alliances and cement social bonds. But there was a hard limit. As the group size grew, there simply weren't enough hours in the day to pick through everyone's fur. If the group got too big, it fractured because the social glue literally ran out. Fast forward to late 1991. Dunbar is sitting at his desk in the Department of Anthropology at University College London, trying to solve a massive evolutionary puzzle. He decided to plot the neocortex ratio, that is the size of the brain's outer layer compared to the rest of the brain, against the social group size of 38 different primate species. When he put them on a scatter plot, there was a clear, undeniable correlation. The bigger the neocortex, the larger the social group that species could maintain. So Dunbar did the obvious next step. He plugged the human brain ratio, which is 4.1, into his mathematical equation. The formula spat out a highly specific, seemingly arbitrary number, 147.8. Let's just round that to 150. According to the raw math of our brain tissue, the absolute maximum number of meaningful relationships a human being can comfortably maintain is roughly 150. Any more than that, and our biological hardware simply crashes. Our brains lack the processing power to keep track of who is friends with who owes whom a favor, and who is secretly a massive jerk. Dunbar was baffled by this highly specific number, so he spent the next few weeks frantically digging through historical and ethnographic literature to see if this brain math actually matched the real world. What he found was enough to send shivers down his spine. The number 150 was staring him in the face everywhere he looked. He looked at census data from hunter-gatherer societies across the globe. The average clan size was almost exactly 150. He opened up military manuals spanning thousands of years, from the Roman Empire to modern armies. The basic operational unit, the company, is almost as always around 150 soldiers. Even in religious texts and utopian communities like the Hutterites, once a settlement exceeds 150 people, they intentionally split it in two. Why? Because beyond that magic number, peer pressure and social bonds are no longer enough to maintain order. You suddenly need strict rules, police forces, and formal hierarchies to keep the peace. 150 is the hard biological ceiling where natural human connection maxes out. But here is where the math gets incredibly problematic for us. Remember those baboons meticulously picking bugs out of each other's hair in the Ethiopian mud? If early humans wanted to maintain a social group of 150 people using that exact same method of physical grooming, we would have to spend over 40% of our waking hours just stroking and picking at each other. Think about that for a second. Almost half of every single day would be entirely consumed by physical touch, just to make sure nobody decided to stab us in the back. That leaves absolutely no time to hunt for food, forage for berries, build shelters, or raise children. Evolution had backed humanity into a corner. We desperately needed the safety and collective power of a large 150-person tribe to survive against predators and harsh climates. But we physically did not have the time to maintain those relationships through traditional primate grooming. We needed a biological shortcut, a way to groom multiple people at once, from a distance, while our hands were busy doing other things. We needed a massive software update to our social operating system. And that software update was gossip. Instead of picking bugs out of someone's hair for an hour to prove your loyalty, you could just lean over the campfire and whisper about who was stealing extra berries. Dunbar called this vocal grooming. Language didn't evolve just so we could discuss high-minded philosophies or coordinate complex hunting strategies. It evolved so we could talk behind each other's backs. Gossip allowed us to rapidly share survival secrets, police bad behavior, and figure out who was trustworthy without having to spend hours physically interacting with them. It allowed one person to socially groom 3 or 4 people simultaneously just by telling a really juicy story. If you're fascinated by how our weird biology shapes our everyday lives, you should hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss a deep dive into these human mysteries. By sharing social information, early humans bypassed the physical time limit and successfully hacked the 150-person barrier. We replaced the fingers with the tongue, and in doing so, we built the modern world. When you zoom out and look at the bigger picture, gossip transforms from a petty habit into the fundamental glue of human civilization. At its core, gossip is really just the sharing of moral judgments. Every time we talk about someone's failures, or that one person who always takes more than their share, we are collectively sketching out the rules of our society. Look at the story of Bill Gore, the founder of Gore-Tex. Without even knowing the science behind Dunbar's number, he intuitively realized that whenever one of his factories exceeded 150 employees, people stopped knowing each other and efficiency plummeted. He famously capped his factory parking lots at exactly 150 spaces. When employees started parking on the grass, he knew it was time to build a whole new factory. He understood that without this invisible network of personal connection, you suddenly need strict rules and police forces to keep the peace. Gossip was our original justice system. It kept the tribe functioning because the fear of a ruined reputation was often much stronger than the fear of physical punishment. You are engaging in an ancient survival mechanism designed to protect your small tribe from a perceived threat.
This biological limit echoes through our modern world in specific ways. Robin Dunbar describes this limit in human terms. It is the number of people you wouldn't feel embarrassed about joining uninvited for a drink if you saw them in a bar. Research suggests the average person only has about 5 intimate friends, the ones you'd call at 3 in the morning in a crisis. That circle expands to 15 good friends you'd invite to a dinner party, then to 50 close friends, before hitting that hard ceiling of 150 casual acquaintances. Even on massive social media networks, where you might have thousands of followers, data shows that users still only actively interact with a core group of about 150 people. Your brain literally cannot process the rest of them as actual human beings. They just become abstract concepts. I'm curious, if you looked at your phone, how many people do you talk to? Does it hit that 150 mark? Let me know in the comments. Here is the ultimate paradox of the Dunbar number. The very habit we often consider our most toxic and destructive trait, gossip, is actually the core foundation of human language itself. We didn't invent speech so we could build sprawling cities, write beautiful poetry, or invent the wheel. We invented speech so we could socially groom each other across the warm glow of a campfire. At our core, we are simply hairless apes who figured out how to pick invisible bugs out of each other's brains, using words instead of our fingers. Every time you lean in to share a juicy rumor, you are participating in a 2-million-year-old evolutionary hack that allowed your ancestors to survive the brutal African savanna. Gossip didn't just save our species from being overwhelmed by selfish actors. It provided the social lubricant that literally made us human. It turned a collection of individuals into a cohesive, powerful tribe that could finally stop picking hair and start building a future.
So the next time you catch yourself whispering about some office drama, don't feel too guilty about it. You aren't being a bad person. You're just doing exactly what your biology demands of you. You're vocal grooming. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the weird science of our own behavior, please hit that subscribe button and join our own little tribe here. We might not be able to physically groom you, but we'll keep serving up the best stories about why we do the things we do. It's a way to keep our own 150-person limit growing in the best way possible. I'll see you in the next one.